Hi everybody, please remember to get your VPR credit. You must be present for the entire session, and you will also have to participate with the Zoom poll at the end of the session. It'll be a nice fun quiz, so that's just to make sure that you've all been paying attention for the next hour. But it is my pleasure to introduce our trainer this afternoon. April Braswell just wrapped up serving as Founders District A5 Area Director, where she was able to achieve a select distinguished area. She has served as a club coach with Club 179, which became President's Distinguished for the first time in 11 years. She is currently the club president, VPM there, as well as the former VPR for Divine Light Toastmasters. She's facilitated and coordinated 2 in-person youth leadership programs in Orange during the pandemic and the January-February 2022 LACE VPR trainings. April is a best-selling author, professional trainer and speaker who has worked for the international Fortune 500 companies, including Oracle, Exida and BHP Minerals, and she is a Silver Club essential oil specialist with doTERRA, the health and wellness company. April practices the attributes of the strategic relationship path as a member of the Orange BNI, Business Networking International, serving on the visitor host and growth and retention committees. She set the social region record for bringing the most visitors, 32, to her keynote. April is thrilled to be Founders District Division A Director this year, and I'm also deeply proud to be serving as an area director in her division, so she's awesome this Toastmasters year, and to collaborate with her fellow division directors in the trio for a Smedley Distinguished District year in Toastmasters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Thank you all officers, all of you VPPRs for attending this training and helping your club to achieve excellence, and certainly going for the goal of excellence in officer training. This is our training for the VPPR. And Julie, next slide, please. The first thing that we want to make sure every club officer has is they're using and referencing the club leadership handbook. When you go take a look at your role for VPPR, you might find quite a lot. If you're brand new as a VPPR, would you please drop a 1 in the chat? If I'm really experienced, I could almost run this myself, please drop a 2 in the chat so we know where folks are. You do not, if you're brand new, just focus on my job is to be getting, thank you. Oh, there we go, 1.5. My job, first and foremost, is aiming to reach visitors to get them to our club meeting. We don't have to be perfect on every single social media platform out there. Do take a look at, become familiar with club management and always meeting quality, the officer role, the descriptions, being familiar with the education program, our elections, things like the speech contest that we will be promoting and wanting to promote both within the club and outside of the club. Next slide, please. Our club management, you can always find things over at the Toastmasters website. Right there, we're showing you, tap on Leadership Central and Club Central, as well as there are really a number of wonderful club officer tools. This is terrific for every club officer. Next slide, please. In the club officer tools do include both the roles. There are a lot of tutorials there. It's wonderful to go take a look at those and become familiar with them, and even to refer back to them periodically. The membership building incentives and the programs, there are ideas there and tools there, wonderful to include. Next slide, please. In club management, All of this section is actually going to be run by the president, the VPE, and the club secretary. However, every club officer looks at the DCP. In the background, you want to be at least aware in general and noticing, I knew that Julie gave a number of speeches in her level 2, but I'm not seeing that in the DCP yet. You might want to be a backup and go check with your club officers for, did they get through? Thank you so much. Next slide, please. Membership, it all starts here. Once we've got them to the room, be sure to be inviting them to join. This is something that we do with our VPM and our club president. By the leadership handbook, it really is the VPM's purview to be inviting them and actually having them become a member. This is the Zoom era, though. It's not the same thing as when we're in person. Sometimes if you're in person, it's the VPM who's going to come up and hand them the brochure and have a little chat with them. But if they're here in the Zoom, we may not get to do it quite the same way. So it's each officer's role to do that in addition and develop that skill. Become familiar with this membership application. The detail, we'll show it in a second, the detail there at the bottom for when they join, how much the membership is. I often, just if I'm having a conversation before someone comes, they're coming through me, I'll just let them know in a ballpark number, it's about $100 for the year, just so they know. Thank you so much for doing the annotation there that shows you that little bit of the detail. And it can be a little cumbersome if you've never really looked at it before. Go take a look at the details, the new member fee, what it is based on what month they're joining. And if they're joining now, you might have them pay for August all the way through March, or you might want to just have them join for the next few months, depending on who they are. Next slide, please. Pathways. We are first and foremost, Toastmasters is an education organization. This is the education value from Toastmasters, and we want to make sure that all members are enrolled. Where can we double check that they are? Over in the club roster. It cites under each member's name, Pathways Enrolled. And if you're one of the folks who's going in, you help them to enroll, and you're the one who's maybe onboarding them because they were your visitor. Make sure to help them get into Pathways. And then if you see it later, because maybe something came up, it was really busy, and you notice it's been a couple of weeks that this person is a member, and you just noticed looking at the roster, Natalie's not in Pathways yet. You might speak to the VPM or their mentor, and that person will help to get them directly into Pathways. Work with your club officers for who's going to be doing that with each member. Next slide, please. Yes, it flew by. It says aim to onboard them into Pathways in their first 2 weeks. I aim for the first few days within 2 weeks as the endpoint. The navigator feature over in Pathways helps us to go through how to begin the meeting roles, all of these aspects of using Pathways and being a Toastmaster member, both in terms of in the meetings and then things like the contests and being a member and pointing towards serving as a club officer, as well as moving into the district level of service. Next slide, please. Base camp manager, really it's the other folks who are doing it, the president, the VPE, and the club secretary. However, as a VPPR, we want to be aware. One of the mottos we'll often use when we're doing the club success plan in the clubs that I'm in is, we have each other's back. Things happen in life. We surely learned that during the pandemic. Even though it's their primary job, we're aware of things. Next slide, please. The most important things that we do is promoting the club into our local community. The maintaining our social media profiles and our website, in particular, our club website. Not every club has the same kind. Some corporate ones, if they're restricted, they may not even have a club website. Maybe they have something that's an intra-web. However you communicate to your public, be sure to keep that up to date. And distribute marketing materials. Well, what are the marketing materials these days? Our club, the flyer that we use, and there are a number of them that are at the branded portal. You can use those, put your club information in. I have it at the end. I'll show you an example. You often want to use, and a lot of us do, you want to use an URL shortener, not put in that whole long Zoom info for a Zoom registration. You're going to put it in there and put your club contact information into flyers, give those to members, post them in places, create publicity campaigns. Sometimes that can be directly going to places who are media outlets. It might simply be amongst your members that they're inviting people. We are to safeguard the Toastmasters brand. There's more information on that later in the training, and remain current with Toastmasters International, as well as the Founders District social media channels. You don't have to go check every single day. Double check at least once a week and start to be familiar over the course of the year. Hey, the speech contest is coming up. I want to make sure to go and take a look what's being posted there that I can leverage, as well as things like LACE was coming up. We've already done it. Is you might be one of the people who's promoting some of those special trainings to your club. Be aware on an ongoing basis. Definitely read the monthly magazine and the leader letter. There are things you can share in your club meeting. You can share it to the public, and you can also put it, you can reference them on the homepage or a secondary page in your club's website to be a resource, to be findable and appealable to Google, as well as to your club members. Next slide, please. Our short list, please take a screenshot. This is something where, and I have, everyone's going to have their own preference for which one or two would come first for your club. Most of the clubs that I'm in, Meetup is the one that really gets the most visitors. Most people who are strangers to us, who we couldn't be inviting on our own. So for us, maintaining, keeping Meetup engaging. When I see a new person has joined our Meetup, I'm going to make it up. I go out there probably about 2 or 3 times a week to see, hey, who's joined our Meetup? And I go send them a note. It's one of the things I have at the end of the slide deck, so you can take a screenshot of exactly what I message them. I message them. We need to be active in our social media, not just post it passively like, hey, they're all going to magically show up. We still need to go work each of the social media platforms to get people from there over to our club. Our club newsletter, both to our members, but when we do things at MailChimp or some other email platforms, it gives us the ability to post it as a web page. So you might want to use some keywords in your newsletter to make us more findable to your public, the people that your club would be appealing to. Absolutely. LinkedIn is different than Facebook with the algorithm. It's one where you often need to do a post. It works a little bit differently, their events versus the Facebook events. Facebook events, hey, Natalie RSVPs and Julie RSVPs and my friend Patricia RSVPs. I haven't. Facebook's going to push it to me. Hi, your 3 friends are going. Don't you want to come too? LinkedIn doesn't do it at the same rate. So we do need to post regularly over at LinkedIn. Secondarily, post and interweave it to your profile at LinkedIn, your profile at Facebook, and encourage members to do likewise. YouTube, it's a wonderful place to be putting up shorter videos, as well as Instagram, TikTok. I'm putting these down. This is not where you're looking at it and thinking, April, oh my goodness, do I have to do all of these in my first week? No, these are to give you ideas and to touch on the different platforms. Instagram might be terrific for your club, whereas for another club, LinkedIn might really be it for them. I'm going to do a quick pointer for both Facebook and Instagram. Like LinkedIn isn't quite doing it the same way yet. Stories in Reels can get you a lot of visibility, engagement to strangers when you use hashtags. You can, if you're brand new as a VPPR, that's not for you necessarily to jump on. For you folks who are saying, I'm a 2 and I want to keep growing and learning and doing new things, that might be something that you start to experiment with by posting motivational quotes as a story, and then you can add sound and turn it into a reel. Next slide, please. Our primary responsibility is we are responsible for the external communication, the communication to the outer world in terms of the newsletters that are published, posting things at Starbucks, aiming to get into media, as well as internal communication, aim to get over to some kind of a club newsletter. Excuse me. If you're brand new as a VPPR and you're like, my list is already so long, coordinate with your club secretary. What your club secretary is putting together, that's already the beginning of a club newsletter. You might do it together or just let him go do that, and you then add to it later in the year. The club management, strategizing your special events, strategizing with the VPE for what are our themed meetings so you can go post about it and get it externally communicated, as well as communicating it to club members so that they feel enthusiastic to come to club meetings. The basics of running Toastmasters meetings. And the next slide, please. Are promoting the club. It says notify local media. That is one where it's a little different these days because it can be awesome to try to get into, let's say, like the LA Times, and I would feel like, oh my God, that's an amazing accomplishment, and it is. However, it might not result in getting a lot of visitors specifically to our club. So put it on your list. When they say notify local media, that can be social media. That could be your internal corporate communications. Aim to think of that term in a broad manner. Develop your social media presence. This is a whole section in each of the paths. If you don't already have a Facebook page, you want to develop it. It's almost more important these days, and gosh, don't they all change every 6 months? Groups were so important a while back in Facebook because of the privacy settings now. That's great when you have a really large club to run that, or maybe you're going to do that for your division or your district, or another focus for your club to reach external people. We need to do it at our Facebook page or on our personal timeline. Maintain an active social media. Pick your 1 or 2 social media platforms first. Which ones matter the most for your club, and focus there first to keep it active, and distribute the marketing materials to members regularly. Unless you're an advanced club where, hey, everyone's super enthusiastic and they're already really well versed with this, aim to distribute something like your generic flyer maybe once a month. Not every single meeting. You want to have where you want to distribute in a manner where it gains traction with your members. Next slide, please. Do create publicity campaigns. This is something where when you have special events, that's where it can be. We used to do the open houses, and you could just hand someone a flyer, and you can still kind of do that now. But even with going to restaurants, not everyone's going to the restaurant. They're using DoorDash. So some of those places that were posting a flyer, we're still not reaching people the same way. When we do an open house, aim to give yourself really 30 to 120 days advance time to train people and to have a lot of time to promote it across multiple media, both in person, the things of putting them up at the Starbucks bulletin board, as well as in social media. We are to value the Toastmasters brand. Now, if this is your first post and it's your first Canva and you didn't quite get the right shade of yellow, there is no Toastmasters brand police who's going to come in and say, that was wrong, you did it wrong. What we might notice, and someone might let you know, that was great, that's so wonderful, you did your first Canva. We use this shade of yellow going forward. Be sure to use that one. and we all can reference that in the brand handbook. That's going to be referenced a little bit later. Publish meeting information. We're responsible for it at Find a Club, at our club website, and then in the social media places. Most of those, I like to always point them to our club website. So if we need to make a change to something quickly, I only have to update it at one platform, not multiple ones super rapidly. Aim to initiate that club newsletter. Work with your club secretary to do something. MailChimp is a free platform. Next slide, please. Ensure website accuracy. That's what I mean about the information that is at Find a Club. Make sure that the website is cited there, is the website which is cited there is the name that your club is using currently. Are you using ToastHost? Make sure it links in sites that other clubs, they only use Meetup. Make sure it goes over to your Meetup group. Safeguard the Toastmaster brand. We'll have more examples a little bit later. Always be aiming to use the Toastmasters International brand resources. We like to mix it up a little bit with using photographs of our own club. Absolutely. It's just be careful for some of the more generic places that we post. You might want to be using the Toastmaster brand first, the branded photographs, before using photographs maybe of a club member before we fully have their permission. Always back up other officers. Club Central is where we access for club business, the club roster, and be tracking the DCP. I at least go out once a month to be aware for my clubs. I'm a division director. I'll just let you know, I have all of those tabs open on my phone all the time, and I check them regularly. Next slide, please. Connect with the Toastmaster International magazine. This is something where when people on their homepage, it's like, what do I put there? You can reference an article. You can even sort of copy and put in a little bit of the first few sentences to give it a little of that summary, have the photograph from there, and then link to the article to engage people. You can put in references from our magazine, both externally and communicate it and point to it to our club members during the meeting. Follow and read our newsletter, both the Toastmasters one and absolutely the Founders District newsletter. Follow the Toastmasters International social media. You'll get ideas from other clubs' posts and being celebrated for things you could do. Oh, hey, we could do something like that here. Not identical, but in another way. And it creates and helps to spread the enthusiasm for the club. Stay current on all the Toastmaster programs, including the membership incentives that we have coming up. And just as you're doing now, and I applaud you, attend club officer training. Next slide, please. Our transferable skills. People are often not making the connection immediately about how serving as a club officer helps to grow both their career, their job. And I know folks like myself, we're entrepreneurs, and they're saying, oh, I can't be a club officer. I need to run my own business. Well, as VPPRs in particular, this is business acumen we can always apply to our professions, to our jobs, and to our own businesses. It helps us to establish and develop organizational development skills, business process and strategy skills, as well as all around professional development. It makes us all better. Next slide, please. Our professional development, it helps us to develop our executive level strategies. We start to plan and look at the whole year, and our networking relationships, both within Toastmasters and outside of Toastmasters, they cross-pollinate so well together. Project organization, running an open house is a whole project these days. Problem solving, we sure know how to solve problems and get creative. This is what's so wonderful serving as an officer, is we get to dovetail with our fellow officers for, this is a challenge the club has. How are we going to address it? It's not just up to me to have to aim to do it. It's like, oh, wonderful. I can ask Natalie. What are your ideas for doing this? Julie, what do you think? We get to do all of that together. Next slide, please. Do create develop a communication plan over the course of the year. It's a little bit small to look at there. You can squeeze out in different ways or expand it there on your computer. What are your goals, the message, and how do you want to communicate this message, the actions, as well as who's the audience you want to reach towards? This is something you might get very detailed for some, others it might start very broad at the beginning. It's still helpful to create an initial communication plan for yourself as a VPPR. What are the 1, 2, or 3 avatar of sort of people we want to reach? Where do they hang out, both online and in person? How are we going to reach them? Brainstorm them and capture it here, communicate and share this with your fellow officers, and then eventually with certain club members. And you might even ask a club member who's not a club officer, who maybe is at that university that you want to really reach, to incorporate their input. Next slide, please. More details on this. What are the channels we're going to use? And then periodically, one of the things with doing both a timeline and an evaluation, revisit this periodically. Sometimes we think, oh, we can put that on in 2 weeks. Really, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. It's okay that maybe we announced it and it's not that we don't do it this time, we do. Then we go back and do it again. And you might call it something different the next time, but really it's the same project. We get to reevaluate on an ongoing basis, and feel free to do that. Next slide, please. Oh, am I on mute? Okay, Kelly, you've lost audio.
I can still hear you.
Okay, thank you. Great. I just want to double check. Thank you. And then this is one of the things in terms of both for our club website. I use the example club179.toastmastersclubs.org. That website, we aim to keep it up to date. Some clubs will announce things the week in advance. We often announce it afterwards. However you want to do it is fine. But always make sure that your club, whatever makes it unique, aim to start incorporating that and reflecting that at the website. Some of us inherited clubs that were a broad topic to begin with. Over time, you'll know what that is. If you're World of Wonders, okay, that's great, Kelly. Thank you so much for letting us know. If you're a World of Wonders, or you're one of the Dungeons and Dragons clubs, well, you're going to have stuff about gaming up at your website. Make sure the Zoom registration link is accessible on the public pages. In the early days, we're not doing, we might have included the direct link with a password there. It's more common now. And if you're not doing it, I do highly recommend it. Just like we had for today's meeting, there's a registration link. Hint, hint, as VPPRs, this is one of the places you can require their name, their email, get this, their cell phone. So whenever they register, and maybe they were a little shy, although most people these days are sharing that even at the meeting to us, is the Zoom registration captured it. And we are safeguarded at least somewhat, because they can go to a waiting room and we can see, are we anticipating this person? We can do all that when there's a registration link cited at our club website, as well as in places like over at Meetup. Put the theme of the meeting. I'm usually doing it afterwards. Some clubs do it before. You can use images. It's cited elsewhere in this slide deck, but I'm going to mention it now and spell it. Pixabay.com has free, copyright-free images you can use. That is Pixabay.com. And I often use photographs from there and upload them and interweave those, as well as the ones that we have from the Toastmasters brand portal. Add meeting recaps with photos, especially when it's been a fun meeting and your camera, if it's anything like mine, my phone is not the best for doing the ones in the Zoom meetings. Maybe someone else in your club, your future VPPR, maybe they have a better, thank you, Julie, maybe they have a better camera. Get others to take photographs too, and put it up at the website. Post it at Meetup, at the Meetup group event after the meeting. Add a link for any digital member welcome package you use there. I find the one that we have is a little, because we used to have so many things in person, the feedback I got was it was a little too much for some people. You'll have an idea. If you're in a professional sphere, it's terrific. If you're having more people who are shy and a little afraid or maybe intimidated, you might have only the membership application and maybe one or two additional things in that package, so you can just have a conversation with them and provide more things to them and resources later. Next slide, please. If you don't yet have the Toast Host free website and you want one, take a screenshot. Toastmasters Club, it's plural in both cases, /welcome. You can go request one for your club. If you're a new club, or you're a club who maybe someone who's no longer with a club because they graduated and moved on, was the tech guru who ran a whole separate website for your club, and they're gone and it's out of date, but you didn't have a Toast Host, you can go establish one now and then update and find a club and the other resources to send and point to your Toast Host website. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the fun thing. So that photograph on the right, that's kind of how my camera would be capturing it. It's just, I don't have the best camera for like the angling and everything. We're wanting to use photographs that are more like what's on the left. Now, that's an example of when we're in person, and some of us get to do that these days. The image on the right, even if we were to use a photograph in our Zoom meeting, we're going to use one where everyone's visible and where there's not all this confusing things going on. Sometimes you can have people at the end of the meeting, you can let them know, hi, everyone, hold for a minute. We're going to take our club picture. Okay, everyone get ready, smile, put your hand up and do a wave. You can let them know you're taking that photograph so everyone's actually looking at the camera versus, kind of looking down or away at just that moment that you took the picture. Next slide, please. Thank you, Tanisha. That handouts, it's a whole folder of about 41 resources that I've pulled that are useful for VPPRs. We're going to hold the room open at the end, because if you start to download all now during the meeting, it might freeze up your Zoom, but you definitely want to download those resources. Secondarily, if you couldn't get them, my information is at the end of the slide. You can email me and I'll be sure to share them to you. Leverage the brand portal. There are so many wonderful resources here. Number one, brand manual. Download it, start to page through it, get familiar with it. The photo contest, it's more the logo and design, the template, the website templates, and the marketing resources are the things that I use first, more than the branded business cards currently. Next slide, please. Yeah. Proper logo usage. I could almost have Julie definitely do the guest speaker on this one. She is so well versed with it. The district, the proper use of our logo, you'll see the things of where it mentions the district, and it mentions one of the logo uses will be citing the year that we were founded. This is proper logo usage. It is cited over in the slide deck you'll be getting later. Feel free to take a snapshot from your phone to reference for yourself later. Next slide, please. Improper logo usage. Now, some of these are less obvious than others. Things like the red globe, it's so close. It's almost kind of our color. You might be thinking, but can I? We're not to change the colors. That is one where it's awfully close, not quite. The green, that is not one of our colors. There are other places you can use green to be expressive in your flyers, not right around the logo. Then also, and sometimes it happens accidentally if we're doing Canva from our phone and we popped it in and we didn't realize that the logo shifted slightly. It's not to change it to an ellipsis. It's not to change the scale. It's not to change the essential elements of the logo, the way that it's there in the row number 2, where it's a solid blue globe versus a globe. Those sort of things, we're not to change those. Download the elements and you'll always have them. Next slide, please. The color palette. This is one I was not great at it. It just took me a while to really just figure the part out. This is one you want to do a close-up on and take a screenshot and save it to your phone if you're doing Canva images, where it cites the number for the color. It says True Maroon. Some places you could actually, you could know what that is. I just had to do it visually initially until I learned using some of the software. If you're brand new, someone's not going to come in and tell you that's awfully close to True Maroon, but not quite it. The first few ones you do, it's okay a little bit. We'll be sharing the PowerPoint later. Yes, Ellie. However, the number where it has the number, the pound sign, and then the numeric, and sometimes it's alphanumeric, the way that it is for Cool Gray, you can literally cite that directly in when you're doing Canva or at other platforms for making graphics, and you will get that precise color. These are our primary colors: the maroon, the loyal blue, and the cool gray. The next, and then the accent color is the happy yellow. I've seen it used where yellow was used a little more than in an accent color. You might do it for a particular one-off event, and it could be okay. But when you're doing something that really is going to be going out to the public for the speech contest, by then, and they are using as an accent color and not a primary color. Next slide, please. Incorrect branding. Some of these are ones where it maybe isn't as super obvious, because some of them look like almost. So the colors, notice how the one in the middle there, the evaluate to motivate, our logo was cut off. The colors that are in there, well, it's the logo, and like, yay, you got the logo in there. This might be your very first graphic and you're just proud. Awesome. Improve now by making sure that the full logo is visible and you're using primarily the brand colors. If you want to be using the other colors, you might use the brand colors at the top and then have the evaluate to motivate some of those other colors used in another way secondarily. Each of these, all of the orange where, again, the logo is pulled off the page for the Fearless Toastmasters, and then the education session, the art of storytelling, it's a great image. All you have to do is add a thing at the top that does our colors and the logo, and you could shift it to be better reflective of our logo, our branding. Next slide, please. Oh, these are so good. And I seriously, because I'm still such a novice at Canva, if I had made these, I would still be being so proud of myself. They're almost correct and not quite. The one on the left, it's fabulous. All those people, you've got the colors, you've got the logo is good. What's wrong? Pop it in the chat if you think you know. What do you think is wrong? Almost, but the error in that graphic. I'll give it a second for people to pop in the chat. Okay, I'm not seeing things. What's wrong is, yes, the background. Thank you, Ellie, and thank you also for putting something in, the logo in the background. that's too much of a close-up on the world. So that part of the logo is actually being cut off inadvertently. It's a great idea. It's actually incorrect use of the brand. Next slide, please. Proper branding. The logo is there in the upper left-hand corner, and it looks really good and crisp, doesn't it? This is something where you could definitely take a screenshot. You'll be getting things later. This is something I literally just save a lot of the canvas that are posted over in social media from other clubs and other examples. I save them to my phone, and it's kind of my mental template for how I'm starting to create things. Next slide, please. Proper branding. See, they used a little creativity in color and layout and are still honoring the brand with the color proper usage and how they're using yellow as an accent color. Next slide, please. We are right now at where we get to touch on questions. Can you actually go to the next slide? Because then I believe my contact information, one more. So be sure that we'll do the questions at the tail end. Be sure you're getting all of our social media and following our social media channels. This is both for Founders District, and then also be sure to do it for Toastmasters International. Things like at LinkedIn, we're doing a lot more these days at LinkedIn from Founders District. Be actively following it and engage with it in order to have it send you more of what is being posted there. If you're not seeing things, there we go. And the Toastmasters International, thank you. The Toastmasters International social media channels, take a snapshot to go find each of these and make sure you're following them, and you'll get ideas as well as things you can repost. Next slide. Oh, I thought we had burning questions. I thought that was signaling we were at the end. I apologize, apparently not. Was the resources, I included a lot of these directly into the downloadable folder. Our club quality, the club coach, the moments of truth, in particular, the new member profile sheet. If your club isn't using it, aim to use it, because one thing we want to know about is maybe some of the other things that they are a member of, as well as how do they find us. Make sure that you're aware of that for new members. And also all of our wonderful new event resources. Next slide, please. These are ones that are for our district leader resources. It's wonderful to be aware of these, mastering your meetings. The leadership handbook is something that all of us should have, as well as be aware of these tools, the Distinguished Club Program and the Club Success Plan. The Club Success Plan is over at Club Central. If you are ever wanting to aim for your DTM, raise your hand if you're aiming for a DTM. Thank you. Or another one is make sure to do it both for yourself and for everyone else who is a club officer in your club. When you do a club success plan, anytime that you're a club officer, that counts towards your DTM. So maybe your DTM, you're submitting it at a time where, it didn't get submitted for your club, although by the time you're DTM, you're one of the drivers who's making sure it happens. Just make sure that your club does this on a regular basis. However brief your club success plan is, start that habit within your club and amongst your officers, and then be sure to upload it over at Club Central for later when you want to get your DTM. Next slide, please. This concludes the training